Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dawn on Sports. I'm Don Mitchell, along with Jim Souhan. We have Chad Greenway coming up on this episode. We also talk about the Vikings' first win of the season, and not to be outdone, the Twins in the wild card. Now, by the time you get this, it may or may not be going on. We know how these things drop, but they want to break that 18-game losing streak in the postseason.
Yes, this is the Dawn of Sports, our new show at TalkNorth.com. Don Mitchell from Fox 9. I'm Jim Souhan from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Brandon Morton, as always, is our producer. Thanks to our sponsors, Rudy Luther Toyota and All Energy Solar. So, Don, we're both in Carolina, and, on this show, we talk Minnesota sports. We talk about women's sports. We also talk about what it's like to report on sports, what it's like to be behind the scenes. And I just had a great example of why it's so valuable for us to actually be in the locker rooms after games. And, sometimes we go in there and there's not much interesting going on. It happens. But sometimes after losses, people don't have much to say. That's fine. But this is a game. You and I are there. Harrison Smith has his biggest game in a long time. And I'm talking to him. And as I'm talking to him, Danielle Hunter comes over and grabs him by the neck and looks at me and says, "This guy is a beast. This guy has always been a beast," and just starts raving about him. Cam Bynum comes up behind him, starts doing the same stuff. It was very obvious that not only did they need to win, they also love Harrison Smith, and they were so thankful that he was able to do that for them. Yes, this is the Dawn of Sports with Don Mitchell from Fox 9. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star-Tribune. Brandon Morton is our producer. Thanks to our sponsors, All Energy Solar, allenergysolar.com, and Rudy Luther Toyota. So, Don, it was fun being in Carolina this weekend, not just because the Vikings won, but, what we do after games, we go try to get people to say interesting things, try to get people to tell us, how they feel, what happened in the game, maybe give us some insights. And I just thought it was really cool to see Harrison Smith, who really has not been that big of a factor as a pass rusher for a while now, have that big game and then have his teammates just react to him the way they did in that locker room. Danielle Hunter came over and gave him this big hug and said, turned to me and said, "Hey, this guy's a beast." And Cam Bynum came up and said, "This guy's a Hall of Famer." It was very interesting to see Harrison Smith's teammates rally around him.
It was great too. And that rare emotion that, you saw Harry kind of hold in. I had a chance to talk to him outside the locker room beforehand, and just seeing him back in there again with the guys doing that, it just goes to show what kind of person he is and that they needed it. Like those 3 sacks he had, yes, they were huge, right? The strip sack that led to the touchdown, great. But that last one, crucial moments. I mean, Harry came up and he just said to me, "I had to do something. I just knew I had to do something." So I think maybe going through his head is, I've been on this team way too long, and I feel like I need to make something happen right now so that we don't go 0-4. And kind of a desperation on Harry's part, perhaps. And man, 3 sacks, a forced fumble. I agree with his teammates, don't you? I mean, he is going to be in the Hall one of these days.
Yeah, I wondered a few years ago because, a lot of Vikings people that we both like and respect were promoting him, saying, "Hey, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame." And I'd look through the numbers, I'd look through the career, and I go, okay, I certainly can see the case, but I don't know if it's going to be that easy for him. It's hard to get in the Hall of Fame, and you're comparing, modern day safeties against great running backs from the past and new wide receivers. It's such a complicated Hall of Fame because you have so many different positions, so many different statistical standards, different eras where statistics are hard to judge. But I think now when you look at some of the career statistical barriers he's broken through, I think it's going to be hard to argue against him. I think his body of work is just going to be so impressive he's going to get in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's a hard position to be in to try to get to the Hall of Fame, too, right? I mean, safeties, you don't see that many of them going in there. And I just think when he has the respect of every other player around the league, you go to any team and you ask them, and they all have this glowing love for him. So that is the testament right there. I'm not saying fellow people, I know they don't have the vote, but there's just so much more to his game that I think sometimes meets the eye when it comes to numbers. So, and I know it's numbers that get you into the hall, but the numbers that they needed from him this weekend, they got, and it showed. You're right, in the locker room, it showed. You know who else I thought was interesting, Jim, was Marcus Davenport. Now, as soon as he was in there, and he was disruptive. At first we thought he had a sack. He ended the game with one of them. He could have had two. I think they ended up giving it to someone else, but he was really down on himself in terms of the level of play. He says, I can play better. My conditioning needs to be better, which I thought was kind of cool for a guy who I thought was very disruptive and really got the team going defensive wise, for him to be like, he's not at that level yet. And then I think I asked Jordan Hicks the same thing. He goes, well, he may not be at the level he wants to be, but we like the level that he brought today. So if he's going to be better, that's even better. So I thought he made a difference.
Oh, he definitely did. And, they needed that. I mean, they blitzed less often and got to the quarterback more often, which is a reflection both of Davenport being in the lineup and of Harrison Smith getting sent at just the right times. This is the game where you could see Flores, doing it partly because the Panthers aren't that good, but also I think Davenport being in the lineup makes blitzing more effective because in the a couple of the recent losses, Flores was just throwing everybody into the rush, just hoping that to cover up for his secondary.
Right. Whew. You take the first one, you put it under your wing, and maybe I can surprise the Chiefs. Oh, and by the way, I know we'll get to this, agree to disagree, but when it comes to the Chiefs, I've changed my tune when it comes to a certain person, Jim.
Oh, that'll be interesting to talk about. We will get to that here.
Yeah.
So Dawn of Sports is still a relatively new show. This is our third episode. First episode, our guest was Mark Rosen. Second was Jim Cott. This week, we have Chad Greenway, former Vikings general manager because I'm thinking of him as a CEO these days. Former Vikings linebacker who's now into all kinds of interesting things he's going to tell us about in terms of beer, coffee, vodka, business, local businesses, NIL money, raising his daughters. We're going to talk to him at the end of this show. And listen, we appreciate you listening. You have a lot of options out there. We appreciate you listening to this show. Let's go ahead and go into Take It From Us, our first segment here. And let's start, and this is a weird one because we're recording this right before the Twins play their first wild card game, first playoff game. We're not going to talk about the games. We're not going to talk about the series because you might hear this later. I will just say this, Don. The 18-game losing streak entering this series has become just that easy thing for national media to grab onto because it's a record. It's a stunning record. It's ridiculous. And I want it to go away. I want, in our business, we don't root for the home teams, but I do root for stories, and I want that story to go away.
Absolutely. And I kind of feel for the guys that are on the team now, but there's maybe one or two that were even any part of the team, right? So there's so many guys like that's history. I'm not even part of it. But here's the deal. And why they need to win. And as of today will be game one. They need to win game one because all those guys that have not been part of it, if they lose, they are now 19. They are now in the losing streak. They're part of it. So it all goes away, and they have to have short memories and then move on, but it all goes away if they win game one, snap the streak, because if not, I'm telling you, now you're part of history. Now you're part of a 19-game losing streak, and then you got to go into game two. So it makes it harder in my book, so just get it out of the way in game one.
And one other Twins note before we move on, I wrote about it in the paper the other day. It's sad that the Twins never get to the postseason healthy. They've had Sano and Buxton out. They've had Morneau out in 2009, 2010 when he was one of the best hitters in the game. They had Maurer out one year. They had Francisco Liriano out one year. That's not an excuse for losing 18 straight, but it does contribute to it. I mean, this is a team that doesn't have, the depth usually that some of the bigger market teams have. And when they go into these series without their stars, and this year they're out without Buxton and Royce Lewis is DHing instead of playing third base. It's just, I almost feel for them. I'm like, God, can they just get a fair shot at a fully healthy postseason just once?
Yeah, but their pitching staff is deep. Their guys have been hitting coming into this wild card. So I'm staying positive, and I'm hoping that it becomes, winning streak number one.
Topic 2.
Despite the injury.
Yes. Topic 2, did the Vikings victory change anything about the way you look at this team?
It showed me that they're not giving up, and no NFL team does, but you can see the attitude change, and 0-3 can change a team. What I really liked was, we already talked about Davenport, but also Cam Akers. I don't know if you guys listened to Kirk Cousins at the end of it. I asked him, hey, Cam Akers kind of feels like, he likes the vibe of this team, but he really wants to earn your confidence. So whatever you can think of him in the past or even at practice, he wanted to show it in a game. And so Kirk was saying, oh my gosh, he was really motivating me because he's in there going out loud, all right, come on, Cam, you got this, Cam, you got this. And every time, and Kirk was amused. He's like, oh, this guy's bringing some juice. And he said, but then when it wasn't even a play dialed up for him, it was a pass. He's like, okay, come on, you got this. So to see that, I'm intrigued to see what they can pull off against the Chiefs. It may be a competitive rebuild the whole way around this whole year, but gosh, I'm so glad that going into that locker room, game in and game out, it wasn't talking about a fumble. There was no fumbles. Yes, there were 2 interceptions, and Kirk is beside himself with that first one. He's like, I'm just so frustrated. The one that went back 99 yards the other way. I mean, who wouldn't be? He even sacrificed his body, Jim, on that. That was like an angry run back to try to get the guy. But it has changed my opinion in terms of, before coming into this, I was like, I don't know. The Chiefs, it's going to be ugly. And now I'm like, I don't know. They may surprise me on Sunday. That's where my attitude has shifted.
All right, let's talk about it. Taylor Swift's coming to town, we think. We don't really know. And you said you've changed your mind on her. How have you changed your mind?
I've changed my mind. Now, the first thing, I don't like publicity stunts, right? So the first one, I was just like, okay, it's to appease the Swifties. Hey, I like her music. But, so I'm like, publicity stunt. We've been in this business a long time. But here's why I like it. I just like her. Okay. And I always have, but I like her personality. And here's where it kind of crosses over into the women's topic that I love so much. Now guys are being asked questions. The guys, in terms of the athletes, are being asked questions that female athletes get all the time. They're being asked about a relationship. They're being asked about other things. So it's kind of interesting to me that the shoe is on the other foot, and she seems genuine, just kind of like hugging the mom and being into it. So she seems genuine. And now the shoe is on the other foot, where the athletes have to answer questions about, do you think it's affecting his play that he's dating a female, rather than every female athlete in the history has always kind of had her play diminished by kind of a sideshow. So I find it to be interesting for me.
The thing about it being a publicity stunt is Taylor Swift doesn't need publicity.
Right. But
I mean, she just doesn't. And Travis Kelce already had every commercial in the NFL going on before, it was revealed they were dating. I mean, these people do not need more attention. So I just like both of them as human beings, and I don't care whether they date or not, but I'm certainly not against it.
No, before I was just kind of like, enough. And now I'm like, well, this is real. This might be real. This is legit. At least it's darling for me, but also, and you brought it up, Travis Kelce, right? I mean, he's famous to you, but now ticket sales have gone up. They're saying
ticket prices have definitely gone up.
Right. And also, if you look on social media, this cracks me up. I don't know if you've seen it at all, Jim. It's hilarious, where women will ask their husbands or boyfriends or brothers, Wow, I think that Taylor Swift has made Travis Kelce famous. And they get so mad. They get so mad, right?
But it's
And then
true.
they start spewing out his stats, right? Well, no, he was famous before and he was this before. And that's where I'm saying, and it's now the shoe is on the other foot, because how many times does a woman athlete have to really defend? Well, no, she's actually good. Like, okay, blah, 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 blah. There's a great article on it. Katie Couric has sent it out on social media. So for me, I kind of like it. I like that the shoe's kind of on the other foot, that guys have now got to defend his stats. I know he had the stats. I knew who Travis Kelce was beforehand. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm enjoying the rhetoric now being bandied about. And so for me, it's kind of fun. And she's just darling. Hey, I was a person that didn't like Adele. Like, I didn't like her voice. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, please don't sing another song about someone doing you wrong and in a whiny voice. And then I love her personality. So I'm always one to be turned around, kind of like, oh. And now I'm like, okay, I am here for for both Kelce Swift duos. The one in Philly, as long as they don't hurt the Vikings or other people right now and throw beer cans at the fans. And this one for sure.
All righty. Let's go
Come
into
at me.
Let's go into agree to disagree.
Yes.
First topic, Byron Buxton.
Okay. My thought is I love Buck. I do. I think he in his day, great player. I think he's just been injured now. And as a person, he's great. But I'm kind of happy that the Twins didn't go the sympathetic route and keep him on a roster and leave someone else off. Because we know this about Buck. If he was on the roster and he was in this game, even if he was bound up like with bandages and whatever, he would go 100% through a wall. And he may hurt himself forever. So I think the smart thing was done. Agree or disagree with me?
Agree, but I'll take it in a slightly different direction. I also think it might be. Listen, I think the reason they didn't put him on the roster is he can't play right now. He's played one game in center field all year. Mm-hmm. Royce Lewis is a DH. He would have no role on this team except maybe pinch running. But I also think there's another aspect of this, whether intentional or not, that could play out well, and that is Buck was trying to get on this roster, and they had to tell him, "You haven't done enough." I hope that motivates him to really spend the entire offseason getting that knee right. And I know he's tried to do it before, but he's also done a lot of things. He does these track workouts. He works out at home. I hope this motivates him to really get the intense care he needs to get that knee right. So when he comes to spring training, he can actually be a center fielder, because that's where his value is.
Yeah. And, as a person, just aside from, viewing him as an athlete, I just feel for him. I mean, I've been dealing with a knee injury since the end of June, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to be Byron Buxton and have this recur over and over again, and to be a professional athlete and have to deal with it, because it's also mentally draining as well. So just the human side of it, I feel bad for him in that level, but there had to be a business decision made. And you're right. He could only play in center field, and he can't play in center field.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get on to somebody we don't I'm guessing we don't feel sorry for him. Jimmy Butler and his new hairstyle.
Now, people, I'm definitely on the Jimmy Butler love train. I have adored that guy even when he was here and people didn't like him. I love his sass. I like his fire. I everything about him, how he plays his game straight out, and he speaks his mind. This new hairstyle, I just find, I don't know if you haven't seen it, you have to Google it. It is straight out of, who is the singer? Who's the singer I'm thinking of? I Feel Good. Who is that?
James Brown.
He is James Brown. He has James Brown hairdo. If he
That's
comes
an
out
old
leather
school
pants
pull
and
right
boots, oh my goodness. I'm like, that is a James Brown do, and I am here for it. Now, I'm not sure if it's the best looking on him, but in my book, Jimmy Butler can't do it wrong. So I'm loving it.
It's funny. Well, okay, we disagree. We don't often disagree. We disagree on this one. I love Jimmy Butler as a player. He's everything you want in a basketball player. He drives me crazy as a person. He absolutely stabbed Thibodeau. He stabbed Thibodeau in the back here. He ripped all of his teammates on the way out. I mean, if you bring somebody into the Timberwolves and say, you're going to be you're going to be the person who transforms this franchise. Well, two problems with it. That's what Thibodeau wanted. He wanted Jimmy Butler to be his guy. He wanted him to transform the franchise, and he wanted him to turn them into this winner. Well, Butler came here just to get a paycheck on his way to his next paycheck. And he sold out Thibodeau. Then he ripped, instead of trying to make Karl-Anthony Towns better, he just ripped on him, and Towns' reputation is still devastated from that, because every NBA fan around the country is now, okay, Towns is soft. Jimmy Butler said Towns is soft, so Towns is soft. His persona off the field, I actually don't like at all.
Again, I have to disagree with you in terms of, an athlete like Jimmy Butler, we see how he plays. You can't turn that off as a person. I think it's unrealistic for people to think he's got that juice and fire on a court and he's not going to have it off the court. Now, backstabbing aside, no, but, if you're going to bring a Jimmy Butler in and you know what he's about and you know how he's going to be, he's going to light fires under his teammates. And if you want him to be Jimmy, you can't turn a Karl-Anthony Towns into a Jimmy Butler. Like, their personalities are totally different. So my fault doesn't lie in Jimmy. My fault lies in the thought that you're going to bring him in and change the team, So that's just where it is. It's almost like with Randy Moss. People are like, oh, I loved him on the field, but he shouldn't have done this and this. You can't turn off the juice. You can't have some Clark Kent and then Superman, like that's in the movies. You are who you are.
All righty.
With a bad or good hairdo.
Well, it's a bad hair. It is a bad hairdo. We can agree on that. Let's talk about women in sports. We're always going to talk about women in sports on this show. The Liberty and the Aces are getting ready for finals, and the good thing about that is it's going to be a spectacular series. Maybe the two best players in the world, Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson, two just dominant teams during the regular season. The bad news is they're so good that it doesn't give teams like the Minnesota Lynx much hope, because it's going to take a lot to overtake these two teams.
Yeah. And, the disappointing thing is, and hey, I am all for women's sports. It's why you're going to make me watch, right? It's the same thing. It's like they're dominant. They're going to, game wise, between the two of them, yes, I want to see Stewart and I want to see A'ja. I want to see them go for it. But I don't like long term. I see these two teams are going to be good for the long term. Like you said, how did the Lynx ink in there? Now, the Lynx surprised me this year. But is there going to be parity that stifles the league? That's what I'm hoping does not happen. But I'm going to get out my popcorn. I'm going to turn on the WNBA. I know some friends that were all about the WNBA, even if the Lynx weren't in it, if the Vikings went 0-4. So I don't know, Jim. I need to see a little bit more movement in the WNBA. And I'm not being biased because the Lynx aren't winning year after year. And people thought that about the Lynx. But the Lynx, they had to fight their way many times. There were storylines. Maybe I'm looking at it from a journalistic standpoint. I'm not sure. What's your take?
Well, I think that the Aces, they basically built through the draft and have done really well. The Liberty are the team that went out and just got Breanna Stewart and Courtney Vandersloot and added them to Niescu. And they're the team that kind of does it that way so many NBA teams try to do. Just go sign the biggest free agent and have him/her elevate your team. And that's certainly a legitimate way to go. I don't know. I guess I bounce back and forth. I love the fact in baseball that it means something to beat the Yankees. Even when the Yankees aren't that good, it still means something to beat them because they're elevated. The Dodgers, they're elevated. They have huge payrolls. They have huge market size. So when you go play them, it means something. So I think it's always good to have teams in your sport that have a target on them. This is really a provincial problem because the league probably loves having its two best teams in New York and Vegas right now. But for Minnesota, but for Minnesota sports fans, how can the Lynx compete with that? They went after Brianna Stewart and Courtney Vandersloot in free agency. They lost.
Did not get them. Mm-hmm.
They lost them to New York because New York is New York. How do the Lynx compete with that? I don't know how they compete with it now that there's unfettered free agency in the WNBA. There's more money, and now certain markets have an advantage.
Well, you said it right there, money, right? I mean, if you pay them, they will come. But it doesn't grow on trees, as my mom used to say, right? So how do you get them there? And I still think Cheryl Reeve is a huge draw. People want to play for her, but money talks bigger, than playing for a championship coach, and a Team USA coach. So, hey, people want to go to winners, Jim. So it doesn't matter. We've seen it in the past, right? The Yankees right now, you can, whether you have a big payroll or not, I mean, your guys still got to play. So you compare them to it. I think the Lynx, if they just win, and if they become a winning team again, I think players will want to play for them. So that's what they got to do. Find that gem.
Yes, they need to do that. Coming up,
find the gem.
Our conversation with Chad Greenway did want to let you know that all energy solar panel installations are done right and made easy thanks to more than 14 years of experience in Minnesota and beyond. All Energy Solar is ready to take any solar project from design to installation and everything in between. This is for your home, your business, or both. Find out more about going solar at allenergysolar.com/coach. We also want to thank longtime sponsor Rudy Luther Toyota.
Ready for a women-forward car dealership? Rudy Luther Toyota empowers their many women on staff in sales, management, and service. Whether you are looking for a new Toyota or pre-owned vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota has something for everyone. Every vehicle comes with a Luther Advantage. 10 cents off fuel and car wash discounts at holiday stations, Luther Advantage warranty, and 5-day return policy on pre-owned vehicles. Located just 5 minutes west of downtown Minneapolis, off 394 and General Mills Boulevard. And they're also hiring. Want to join the team but don't know where to start? Visit rudyluthertoyota.com today.
As promised, and to remind you, one of the great things about this show is that Dawn has such great relationships throughout the sports world. We've already had Mark Rose and Jim Cott. This week's guest is Chad Greenway, old friend, great Vikings player, now a very active business person and coach and father. So, Dawn, I'm going to hand it off to you and let you chat with Chad here.
Chad, the one thing I absolutely adore about you is, and I find this, but I've had fans come up to me and say, I have to pinch myself and remind myself that Chad's actually still not playing. Because when I see him right away, I want to run up to him and talk to him about the game. And so you're still very much part of the football community as well as Minnesota community. So that speaks a lot to your character. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, well, thanks. First of all, great to be on. Great to be able to talk to you again. Obviously, I had a great time, during my actual playing career of working with you in different ways, and fun to be on the other side of it now. 7 seasons out, 6 seasons out, whatever the heck it's been. It's crazy. You do pinch yourself because I've been so ingrained in the fabric of Vikings football for so long, since 2006, and I think when you play your whole career in one location, in one spot, and you kind of have that loyalty with the fan base, they feel like you're part of it, no matter if you're out or not. So I always enjoy that conversation. I've been getting a lot of, with the 1-3 start, I've been getting a lot of, man, I wish we could still have you out there playing. I'm like, I can promise you one thing, that is not something you want. So no, it's been a lot of fun. Again, the way my career took shape and how it went was really incredible. How lucky I was to be able to play in one spot.
Whenever you talk to people, you're like, that's something that you don't want either, right? Because all the former players, like, I'm happy not to get hit every week.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I don't want any part of the physical piece of it. Obviously, as everybody says, the competition, the locker room, kind of having that normal, quote unquote, normal 9 to 5, more like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. job. You do miss all that. You miss the day to day, but for the most part, I don't miss the physical part at all.
Well, at least you have a victory to celebrate, right? Finally get the 0-3 purple monkey off everybody's back and take a deep breath. Do you watch the games or do you find out later? How are you right now?
Yeah, so I watch when I can live. Obviously, it's always better to watch live. My kids obviously control my schedule on the weekends and always very busy. So Like, for example, this past weekend, the Carolina game, I listened to mostly Radio's coverage in Paul Allen's voice because I was in St. Louis for a soccer showcase for my second daughter, Beckett. So, it's kind of hit or miss for me. I watch highlights back, follow along on Twitter. And then, when if I can stream it, I do it. But if I'm home, obviously in Minnesota, love to watch them live. But if I can't, I'll go back and tape and then just enjoy them with a cocktail or something at night. And after the fact, when I usually already know the result, I'll go back and watch them. So, I probably take in very, very few actual live in-person games or live games as they're happening. So just because my weekend schedule is so nuts.
I love having you and then also having Jim Souhan here because you guys are very much women supporters. Chad, you're the ultimate girl dad. You didn't even mean to take that banner on, but you've taken it and you run with it and you love it. Your daughters, your wife, everyone is so athletic. How has that changed you to see how they have been so competitive and become athletes themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, football gave me a lot of things. Obviously, a chance to live my dream, a chance to financially make some really good money, as a young age, and build so many relationships with people. But what it really did is it gave me time to raise my kids. And I retired when Madden was in third grade, and I was
Wow.
a multi-sport athlete growing up. And I really enjoyed the idea of, okay, well, I have all these girls, and not one of them is going to play football. Although my oldest has been asked several times to be the kicker for the high school football team because she's quite the soccer player. So it's fun for me because I get to kind of see it from a different lens, and I've coached them mostly in their younger ages in soccer. I've coached them, in their kind of middle school ages for basketball, and the biggest thing is I've just been there to develop them not only as people but as athletes and mentalities. And my wife was an athlete at Iowa as well, so we kind of live and breathe it here at our house. Starting with academics, but more importantly, just holding yourself to a really high standard. And you don't have to be just a pretty face. You don't have to be just an athlete. You can be all things. And they obviously have been gifted some decent genetics. But really, what I want to give my kids is especially my girls is a sense of independence, a sense of pride in themselves, and also a sense of accomplishing something they put their minds to. And my kids have had some pretty good success in their early careers and early lives, and people always just think they've had things handed to them. But I can tell you one thing: my girls are extremely hard workers, and it's fun to be able to help them along the path and help them realize their own dreams. Rather than trying to live through my own experiences, that let them have their own. So it's been really fun for me.
It's an excellent point you make that they have to work for it, and also last week, we talked about the importance of women being in sports and even as girls, because what it can do for you as you get older and you get into the working world, right? And there was a recent study that we talked about last week, Chad, that had like 85% of girls that played sports when they were younger, competitive sports, went on to be CEOs. And they said that 93% that make over $100,000 a year played some sort of competitive sports in their youth. And I'm not saying it's all about money, but they also learned leadership. They learned how to work out problem solving, like group dynamics. So you don't have to be an athlete, but they're just saying if you go that route, it really emboldens a lot of young girls. And I said, I am that person. I am a product of Title IX. I'm the first person to admit it. It gave me, I was raised with brothers and I did not need to, learn to fight my way out of anything. Like I held my own with my brothers, but it's the dynamics when you move on in school and in business. Basically what I do now, I'm just on a different team. You're still working
Yep.
for a common goal and you're still going at it. So do you find that you can see that in your girls as well?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, the reality is, sports can be used in a lot of different ways and a lot of different avenues, and it can be used positively in so many different directions. I think having young female athletes, the one thing that emboldens them to do is create a level of independence for themselves and belief in oneself that they can accomplish things, especially hard things. I think that really explains a lot when you
Right.
can say, hey, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do it the hard way and not take the easy way out. And when you can prove to yourself that you can accomplish hard things, then you just take on bigger and bigger challenges. And I think sports is going to open up some crazy avenues for my girls, I hope. Meet a lot of people, create a lot of fun, lasting memories. not only in high school, but obviously if they're able to play in college or beyond, where can they take that and how can they use it? I always think the biggest thing you can give your kids is the ability to network and the ability to meet people that maybe is outside of their circle, to give them opportunities if they put themselves in that position. And we talk about that all the time, is how are you going to, not only how are you going to live, right? What's your intent, but also how are you going to present yourself and given an opportunity? What are you going to stand for when you've been given that opportunity to stand up and say, hey, here's who I am? And I think that will serve them very well in sports. I grew up in a farm in the middle of nowhere, and my responsibilities and chores, dictated the success of my family business, the farm. And so, my chores might look a lot different than, my kids' chores, that's for sure. So really we use sports also as a way to have, hard times, sacrifices, come back from injury, deal with hardship and loss. You can kind of use it as a vehicle for motivation, but also as just some life lessons that, I think you look at athletics across the board, it teaches so many different lessons.
You're absolutely right. I was just having a conversation with one of the girl that I'm mentoring in college, and I said, if I did not get injured playing sports in college, I probably wouldn't have my job, because it allowed me to do an internship. But it also, coming back from the injury, like you said, teaches you how to go through it mentally, physically, socially, all of the above. So that's just perfect, strong lessons right there. And what you said dovetails perfectly into, it's just kind of your life's mission with your Lead the Way Foundation. It's going strong. 13 years later, you have your celebrity waiter at Manny's fundraiser coming up October 9th. Tell us about that. And did you ever think it would be going on 13 years?
Yeah, I mean, so when we got drafted to Minnesota, we have, hey, what's something in the community that would be interesting to you? In the community, dealing with different foundations or different people, like who'd you like to work with? Would you like to work with kids, blah, blah, blah. They ask you all these questions. And I think the one thing that, for Jenny and I was like, well, we both had lost a grandmother to cancer, to breast cancer. So we started kind of in the working with Zeta Tau Alpha and the breast cancer awareness group. That was really enjoyable. We felt really good about that work. And then we had our daughter Matt in 2007. And when you have a child, it kind of, you see things from a different lens. And we understood really quickly that no matter how much money or things we had, childhood disease doesn't care about any of those things. It impacts everybody. And we just said, you know what, let's go make a difference here. And we started working with different hospitals. We created a foundation, as you mentioned, the Lead the Way Foundation, who has impacted, hundreds of thousands of people in different ways, different programs, lots of moms, lots of families, lots of sick kids. And it's enjoyable to look back at those years and say, man, we've made a dramatic impact. And when I retired, I fully thought that the foundation may have to go away. You just don't know what is going to happen as you retire. There's nothing more irrelevant than a former athlete. And I thought, well, let's just see how it goes and let's keep it going. And reality is we had built, so many relationships with different companies, people, businesses, that we said, you know what, let's keep going. And it's actually gotten stronger and stronger as I've gotten away from the game, which is kind of weird. But it goes to show you that life is all about relationships. Life's all about connection, and people looking for that connection, those relationships, and then just being your authentic self is a corny way of saying, hey, I am who I am. You can take it or leave it, but this is who I'm going to be. So I just love that approach to life. It's the way I grew up with my folks and back home in South Dakota. This never had to try to impress somebody. I just be myself. If that's not enough, I guess that's on you.
That's what, when you're saying that, like nothing, than an irrelevant athlete. I'm like, oh, come on. No, like everyone still thinks of you as a Viking anyway, whether you're playing or not, you're always a Viking, right? And you give out so much. So the people, they just want it. You're a touchstone still. Like you, Ben Lieber, what you do in the community and just who you are as people. Like you can't fake that stuff. It's almost like being on TV when people say you're in their homes, right? So you are too. You've been in their homes. So you can't fake who you are at this point. And now you also have your great X spirits. So I'm the light for, we already spoke about the women, but you shine the light also for young men that are like, okay, like there's a life outside of football.
Yeah, I mean, so when I retired, obviously the next question becomes like, what do you do now? Like, where do you go? What do you do? Obviously, I'm coaching my kids and kind of becoming a part of the fabric of the community. The first thing I did actually post-retirement was become the president of the Wayzata Girls Basketball Association, which is the largest youth basketball association in Minnesota, just because it's affiliated with the Wayzata School District. And I've been the president of that association for 7 years. So my first job was perfectly appropriate as an unpaid position in one of the hardest things to do, which is run a youth association these days. But I've really found joy in doing that. And then the next thing was I got approached by a group of guys that said, "Hey, we want to start a real business around this concept of Duck Duck Grey Duck and this Grey Duck brand." And I said no a few times before I said yes. And quite honestly, it's been one of the most amazing things I've ever done, because I took a group of us, 4 of us, that had zero industry experience in the spirits category or in alcohol at all, and said, "Hey, we're going to go try something." And we've done it, and we've built now quite the company, quite the business that's got all sorts of different kind of fingers in different spots, and it's causing all sorts of havoc now in the NIL space with the Gophers, and it's just doing a lot of good as well. So, and of course, as appropriate to me is I had to be a part of it, give back to the community. And we found ways and creative ways of giving back to lots of different community ventures, and I think we're almost at $500,000 given away over the last 5 years, which is crazy. But again, it just goes to show you build a relationship with a community of people.
Wow, that's amazing.
Minnesota, I mean, it can, yeah, it's been cool to see it grow, and then now to see where we're at. It's crazy how far we've come.
Wow, congratulations. And I'm not a coffee lover in terms of I don't drink like 5 cups a day. But once I moved to Minnesota, I realized not only with the weather, but also my crazy schedule, I'm going to have to learn to have coffee. And you've got this new caribou blend of this spirit. So like you have mixed 2 wonderful things together. Whose brainchild was that, and how well is that launch going?
Yeah, so that was a reach out, again, relationships. That was a reach out to the CEO of Caribou Coffee, and a connection I had made at some point during my NFL career, and has become an acquaintance, friend. And I said, "Hey, would you sit down with us on this and let's just see where this goes?" And he said, "Yep, let's sit down and meet as a team." And it was just it was a perfect storm, and a couple of years of build up and preparation and putting together an actual recipe that works, and getting all the moving parts put together. We launched on Friday of last week to just a absolute crazy enjoyable fan base of a product that seems like it was just a lifetime in the making, but is finally here and on our doorstep, and it's awesome to see the response to it. Uh, it's a great product. I mean, it's a spiked nitro cold brew, so at its base, it's made with Caribou's cold brew blend, and it's kind of gassed up under nitro, which makes it a really smooth, velvety finish when you drink it. It's really incredible. Then obviously it's our Grey Duck spirits put back into that, and it's 7% alcohol by volume. It's served in a 12-ounce can, a slim can, and the marks and logos of Grey Duck and Caribou are on there. It's a pretty special thing for us, and we're very, very proud of it. And we just want to infuse the market with it. We want to get it out into as many people's hands as possible, and let it expand from there, because we know how good of a product it is. So yeah, that part's been a lot of fun. Of course, we have our Grey Duck vodka, we have a Grey Duck seltzer, and we have a pre-batch cocktail called Muddled with a company out of New Ulm, which is really incredible. So we're really expanding, and maybe we can touch on this next. But we just we launched a beer with Dinkytown Athletes here just last week as well. So we've had a lot of things going on recently.
Oh, tell us more about that. Like you already said that with the NIL things are taking off. So the sky's the limit then on that.
Well, yeah, you may have. I know that Coach Fleck has been in the media about talking about the NIL and talking about how Minnesota's got to get in front of it, and he literally had said that about a day before we launched Duck Duck beer. We launched that beer, really easy drinking light beer, in collaboration with Surly. But what it is it's connected to Dinkytown Athletes. So if you go out and buy a 12-pack of our Duck Duck beer or our Fan Pack Seltzer 12-pack. 20% of those proceeds go directly to Dinkytown Athletes, which is the collective, as we all try to understand what all these words mean. A collective is a group of people that have come together to raise money to be able to produce NIL contracts or deals for Gopher Athletics to stay really competitive in this crazy, ever-changing collegiate world. Even if you don't agree with it, the reality is it's moving forward in that direction. So the proceeds of those products go direct to Dinkytown Athletics. So if you go buy a 12-pack of Duck Duck beer or the 12-pack Fan Pack Seltzer, 20% of that is going direct to Dinkytown Athletes. That's the deal we have in place with them. And Coach Fleck actually gave us a shout out after the game and after the win. Gopher fans, go drink Duck Duck beer, because this is going to help us stay competitive in this ever-changing environment. So we're very proud of it. We think it's a really good and fun, collaborative idea. It kind of puts all things, all oars in the water, so to speak, for talking Gopher athletics.
Chad, I just think that is just amazing. A way to just get the whole university and Gophers fans in, because this is a crazy new world with NIL. And I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't go back to the Vikings in terms of craziness and talk about, first of all, Harry Smith, 3 sacks, forced fumble. Yeah, Marcus Davenport coming on. He says he didn't really do much. He says he's out of shape, but I think he was a difference maker. So just football-wise, when you see your defense, because you never let it go, what did that bring to mind to you?
Oh man, I mean, it's what this football team needed. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at this, where this team started 0-3, 2 tough home losses, and losing at home in the NFL is just an absolute death sentence to your season. So to start that way 0-2, you essentially, had to go to Carolina to have any semblance of a season and win, and they got that accomplished. Obviously, defensively, to see Harry play like young Harry and go out there and make all sorts of fun plays was so great to see. So happy for him. Love that guy so much. He's just an awesome Viking, and he'll be in the Ring of Honor and the Hall of Fame at some point in his career, because he's made that big of an impact. If you look at the numbers, it's crazy. So very happy for him. Davenport, at the end of the day, it's about making an impact when you give it an opportunity. And obviously he's had some ups and downs this preseason, lots of opinions out there of him specifically, but to go out there and make an immediate impact is what we were looking for. It's what we need. And again, this football team can beat anybody. Again, we're sitting there 1-3. We're in no way in a position to get cocky, arrogant, or anything else, but this is a team that, I'd not be shocked at all if we beat the Chiefs this weekend at home. I mean, I just wouldn't be. I think we're a team that can do that. We're capable of it, but you got to win those tight games. And, the Chiefs haven't exactly been dominating teams, but they've been winning games. And I think that's just the slight difference. And what makes the NFL so crazy good is the parity across the board. So, if you want any semblance of an opportunity, got to win maybe the hardest game on the schedule this weekend when Kansas City comes to town, and I'll be here for it, watching with popcorn when that happens, and I hope it does.
Amen. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. We always peel back the curtain. We do appreciate your time so much. You have so many balls in the air that you're juggling. Your time is valuable, so thank you. But we like to peel back the curtain to a little bit behind the scenes. And so here's my behind the scenes story with you.
Yes.
And people, this one, what I'm going to tell you. Many years ago, fans don't know this, it was kind of just a perfect storm, but I fainted in the Vikings locker room. And it was right in Chad's corner there in the old facility, where it was right by the locker in the showers, and it was just a tight space, and I wasn't feeling great to begin with. Anyway, I pass out. And so who was the first person there? Well, it was Eric Sugarman, Chad Greenway. And Chad, I remember you saying to me, like, well, what was the last thing you saw? And I went, B-Rob's face. And,
yeah.
I was a little nervous at that point, but you were like a big brother. I would say you and Ben Lieber were like the big brothers to me in the locker room that were kind of like, you were right there to take care of me. I was fine. But you made a joke, which I loved. You said, well, I'd probably faint if I always saw B-Rob's face. Wait a minute, I do see B-Rob's face. Just people don't know that the behind the scenes, they always think, oh, what's it like in the locker room? But for me, I can speak of that. I feel like I'm talking to brothers I'm watching playing football. And I personally just wanted to thank you for that, because we're there every day. We see you guys, we're in the trenches, and the relationships are formed on that level as well.
Oh, no question. I remember that like it was yesterday. It was a scary time, scary experience. I've been around a few of those situations, and I always feel like I was kind of one of those people when there's something going on that makes people really, really uncomfortable, like a situation like that. I always want to be the one that's running to that to help. I guess it's just one of those things that comes natural. And I just, enjoy to be able to be there and to help. And I do think that relationship in the locker room, especially with the everyday beat reporters, is so important, because you get a sense of the real personality of them. It certainly was a good experience in Minnesota. We had a lot of great media members who just absolutely just asked the right questions, appropriate questions, would hit you with the hard-hitting questions when they needed to, but wouldn't overstep. We're always very respectful, and I always really appreciated it, and became, really, I think a big advantage for me and how I tried to treat the media and have a lot of fun, but be serious at the same time, because, inevitably, if you get them, quote unquote, on your side per se, because you're being yourself, it makes it a lot harder to write negative pieces. And not in any way was I faking it. I was just being myself. And I feel like sometimes, it's hard because you don't have the days where you want to speak, or you're having a really hard time during the season, or either personally or as a team. And it's not always fun, but I always feel like our media, you included, always did a great job of just, making it comfortable, making it easy. And it's not that I didn't take my time to avoid the media at times, because everybody has some of those, but it was very enjoyable, my time in the locker room as well.
Oh, well, Chad Greenway, you're always a delight. I'm thrilled. I'm going to see you for your celebrity waiter event at Manny's coming up Monday, October 9th. That's going to be great. I'm encouraging people, hey, support the NIL. Go out there and get the beer, and also get the Caribou blend, because I've tried it, and that's awesome. So
Yes.
This is not a paid advertisement, by the way. I'm just saying that I have tried this on my own, and I have loved all of it. So, Chad, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having you on Monday night. It's always a fun event, and I think that you'll have a good time. And you're a celebrity, Dawn, that night, so we're looking forward to having you. It'll be very fun. So thanks for having me on. Great to hear your voice, and we'll see you on Monday.
All right. See, we're doing the celebrity in air quotes. I'm just happy I'm not on crutches.
Yeah, seriously.
All right.
Hey, thanks,
you, Chad. Have
Appreciate
a great day.
man.
We'll see you on Monday.